Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so happy that you are here, and I am so happy to be here. Today, we are going to do my May wrap up and my June TBR. Now, I haven't done a TBR video ever because I am a chronic mood reader, but I'm going to start giving TBRs a go because I really feel like I need to have a little bit of structure or potentially guidance on what I want to read in the coming month. And then I might throw it out the window, but it also might be really helpful to me because I've just been in such a reading slump and finding books that I want to read has been really difficult. So if I have kind of a list, I can see if any of those fit what I am feeling. Now, May was kind of a wrecked reading month for me. I believe my next video is going to be a vlog at the end of April, which is my funny story reading vlog, where I ended up reading 4 books in 1 week and I completely just burnt myself out, and I was already in a reading slump, so it was a little bit of a disaster. However, I feel like I'm slowly kind of gaining some ground and getting back to normal. In the month of May, I ended up reading 4 books, and all of them were audiobooks, with like one of them being a hybrid audiobook Kindle situation. Now, the other thing too that was like a little bit silly of me is I'm in a huge reading slump, as I said, and I really want to explore outside of my typical romance, fantasy, romantasy genre and get more into epic high fantasies and more epic fantasies. And what's the perfect time to do this? When you're in a reading slump, obviously. So the first book that I read in the month of May was Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, and I gave it 3 stars. I would definitely say that this month has been a discovery in what kind of fantasies I'm interested in, and political fantasies are just not as intriguing to me as ones that have more battles. And I would say that this one is definitely a little bit more leaning into politics, but there is also action. So I was intrigued, but then also a little bit bored with the politics at some times. This story follows a girl named Vin, who is a ska orphan who hasn't had the best start to life. She has been betrayed a bunch, and her life is a little bit of a mess until she runs into this unlikely kind of group and gets recruited to work with them and train to learn how to harness the magical ability she possesses. There is a big bad ruler, there is a bunch of different classes in society that you get to explore as Vin kind of infiltrates them, and it was a really interesting story. I will say the first thing that I absolutely adored in this book was the magic system. This book utilizes metals as a magic system. You basically take a little vial that has a bunch of different metals in it, and you drink it, and then you're able to kind of burn the metals and get different skills from it, where whether it's you gain more strength, you can push and pull away from different metals and like propel yourself upwards. It's very, very cool. And if you can control multiple metals, you are Mistborn. I would say that the saving grace and the big team carry was the magic system. I absolutely adored it. I thought it was so intricate and so cool. Where this book lost me a little bit was in some of the pacing. I felt that it was moving very slowly. The other thing I would say is I also think that this book was really setting up the next books in the series because it really laid like a solid foundation and kind of left off in a place to kind of go and explore. But I would say that it also was very slow, and I wish that it was a bit faster. The last thing that I didn't love was there was kind of a romance that was like tweeted. There was kind of a romance that was teased throughout this book. And as you know, I'm a romance girl, so I thought this was going to be the part that I latched onto, but I really didn't like the romance. I just really thought it was super insta-lovey. I didn't really connect with it. I didn't really understand it. While there wasn't anything like inherently bad about it, I wish that there was a bit more time for the romance to blossom and for the characters to grow more together. Overall, the magic system just carried this book. The next book that I ended up reading was Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. Now, this book I have seen everywhere on BookTube in particular, and I just wanted to give it a go. Now, coming off of a fantasy that I thought was really slow and I needed to switch it up, was it the smartest decision to jump into the audiobook of another long fantasy book? No. Do I have regrets? Slightly. Let's get into it. So, Swordcatcher follows a wide range of characters. We have Lynn, who is a healer. We have the Crown Prince Connor, and then we also have Kel, who is the sword catcher. Now, this book has, as I said, a couple different things going on, but the main plot is of Kel, and he is the sword catcher to Connor, which means he is the body double. He has basically been taken from an orphanage and grown up impersonating Cal, studying him, and basically be able to be him at a moment's notice if danger is in sight. This actually reminded me a lot of the prequels of Star Wars with Padme having like a body double, but that's about where the similarities end. I have to say that this book and I did not jive. I gave it 2 stars, and was it bad? No, but it wasn't my kind of fantasy. As I touched on a little bit earlier, I'm learning that political fantasies are not my vibes. And this book is a political fantasy to its core. Battles, we don't know her. We don't know what they are. We are here to talk about the court politics. One thing that I loved that occurred in this book was like the little queer representations that happened, and they were just ingrained in the world building. I will say that before each chapter, there was a little chapter header, and I had no clue what was going on in those. I'm going to be honest, I was listening to it and I was trying to comprehend it. And I believe there was a parallel to the chapter you're about to be reading, but my little brain was not connecting those dots in any way, shape, or form. It just felt very vague as a book, and I wasn't really sure what the end goal was for all of these characters. And I didn't really like Connor. He kind of got himself in a bunch of tricky situations and didn't know how to get himself out of it without leaning on the people that were close and trustworthy for him. I really liked Lynn's story. I would say that her dynamic and her purpose throughout the story, I would say, was probably my favorite. But there was just so much politics. There was just so much politics, and there were no battles. So that's all I have to say. I know I'm kind of repeating myself, so I'm just going to leave it there. It just didn't work for me, but it might work for you. Coming off of Swordcatcher, I had one goal and one goal only: palate cleanser romance. Give me something fast, interesting, and my home comfort place. So I ended up picking The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. Now, you guys saw that I read The Fake Mate, I believe it was last month, by her, and I enjoyed it. The Nanny by Lana Ferguson is a really fun, fast story. So it's about our main character, Cassie, who is an occupational therapist or physiotherapist student. She's trying to finish her degree, but she desperately needs money. Now, in the past, she has had an OnlyFans, and that really helped her get the money that she needed, but she ended up creating a connection with someone, but that kind of was a bit of a mess and fell through, so she doesn't want to go down that road anymore. Aiden, he is a chef. He is looking for a nanny after his daughter is scaring them all away, and he ends up meeting Cassie. Cassie ends up agreeing to the job, and she moves into Aiden's house, finds him extremely attractive, and the story kind of goes from there. The first thing I want to say is I loved the random fun facts in this book. Our main character loves a Snapple lid fact, and I found those to be so entertaining. I love random fun facts, and I would just love to just say random Snapple fun facts all the time. Unfortunately, I don't drink iced tea, but I would love to have those in my back pocket, so I thoroughly enjoyed that. Sorry for the jump scare. It's editing Ellie just really popping in here quickly. The one thing I forgot to mention is that this book is extremely spicy. I got distracted by fun Snapple facts and going on an absolute tangent about Encanto that I have since cut out. But this book is spicy. Like 50% of this book's plot is spice. 25% is like the nannying, 25% is like other, and then like 50% is just spice. And you're gonna have a great time. You are. But I got distracted by other fun facts, and I forgot to mention that. I loved the dual point of views. I thought it was easy. I thought it was fast. I thought the little girl was super sweet, and I loved how her and Cassie interacted. It gave me a little bit of a flashback to when they were talking about Encanto. There were a lot of modern references. There was OnlyFans, there was Encanto, and other modern references, which typically I don't like, but I was having a great time. There was one aspect that I didn't think was super realistic in this book, but I don't want to talk about it because it's spoilery. So I would say that I just don't think that how that played out would have actually occurred in like reality. And this book did fall under the same problem as The Fake Mate, where the inner monologue of the characters got very repetitive. I would just say that if I was reading it physically and not zooming through it on audiobook, the inner monologue of these repetition and these thoughts might have bugged me, but because I was having a great time looking for something easy, fun, not thinking too hard about it, I had a great time. I ended up giving it 3.75, and I enjoyed it. The last book in this wrap up is going to be The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. Now, this is a book that I have wanted to read for so long, and I actually enjoyed it, but I will say again, I don't think that this was necessarily the right time to read it. I really decided that I was going to read a lot of fantasy, and after reading The Nanny, I really thought I could handle it, and I was unfortunately a little bit incorrect in that assessment, but also had been waiting so long for my library hold to come in that I wasn't about to miss this opportunity. This book is rich with history, it is rich with culture, and I absolutely loved Nari's perspective. So this book has a lot going on, but I'm going to try to explain it the best that I can. We follow Prince Alizade, who is one of the main characters, and he is really struggling because he does not agree with his father or his brother's beliefs or how they are ruling and treating certain people. That's kind of his storyline. He is kind of mildly involved with the rebels. He's trying to figure out his life. Things aren't going very well. His family is not necessarily the most trustworthy. He just doesn't feel like he belongs. My favorite storyline in this book was with Nari and Dara. Nari is an orphan who grew up in the streets of Cairo, and she is a healer. She can just see illnesses and she can heal them. And she's also scamming people for money, which is always a fun time when you're introduced to a book character and they are just swindling. Nari one day ends up making a little bit of a mistake singing a song she shouldn't have sung, and she calls to her Adara. Adara. I love Dara. I love this man. I think that he is so entertaining. I think that the journey that they go on, the history, everyone in this entire book has some sort of history that you don't fully understand and is slowly being like peeled back like the layers of an onion. I loved Nari. I loved Dara. I will say that Ali or Alizade's perspectives were a little bit boring to me because I was so Nari and Dara that I was just like, Alizade, get out of here. His stuff's also, again, more political fantasy. So I wasn't having as much fun where Nari and Dara are on this kind of journey and they are battling. There is history, there is lore that is happening. The fast moving last 2 hours of this book really got me. I ended up giving it 3 stars because I did have a little bit of trouble getting into it at the beginning, but then I was hooked. As for my June TBR, I'm thinking about things that are going to be fast, that are going to be fun, that are going to be easy. I don't want anything too hard and nothing too fantastical, I think. So the first book that I want to give a go is the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey. Now, if you've been anywhere on Book Talk or BookTube, you have probably seen this series talked about, and I thought that I would never read it. I guess this is a June TBR. I actually have read a few chapters in this story already, but there are 5 books, so I still have lots to go. So I'm going to finish book 1 and hopefully do the others if I am continuing to enjoy it. Basically, all I know about this series, it is about a female serial killer who is slowly getting her revenge on some men who wronged her while simultaneously dating the FBI agent who's trying to solve the murders that she committed, but he has no idea it's her. The next book that I am hoping to get to early June is The Rom-Commers by Catherine Senner. Now, I got an advanced reader copy of this by NetGalley, so I need to get my butt going on reading it. It comes out on June 11th. Our main character, who has been taking care of her father until she gets a breakthrough career opportunity, and she ends up leaving caring for her father in the hands of her sister and goes to write rom-coms with a man who has been extremely successful, except he can't write a rom-com to save his life, and she has to fix it. That's all I know about that one, but it sounds like a super, super fun book, and I loved The Bodyguard by Catherine Senner. Another advanced reader copy that I have to get to is Murder at the Rusty Anchor, and this is a cozy little murder mystery. And I'm super excited because I love cozy murder mysteries and I've been wanting to get into more. It comes out at the end of June, June 25th, so I have a little bit more time to read that one, but it's also on my list of things to get to in June. I don't want to entirely abandon fantasy, so I think the last book that I'm going to kind of put on my list of things for my TBR is going to be House of Beating Wings. Now, I have heard so much about this book. It is a romantasy, and I think it borders on new adult/adult. It's been compared a lot to SJM's works, and so I think it'll be a lot of fun, easy fantasy, and there is crow shifters, and that's pretty much all I know about it, so I'm going in pretty blind. But I want to put a romantasy book on this list just in case I do end up being in the mood at some point this month that I have something that I could potentially readily pick up. Thank you so much for watching if you've gotten to this point. I really, really appreciate you, and I am so excited for what this reading month has in store. I'm super excited to get to the Mindfuck series, and I'm just feeling like I'm on the right path for getting out of this gosh-awful reading slump. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.